What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Dead and Beautiful. So a big thanks to Kayla over at Shudder who sent me a screener for this movie. It's a brand new film that's about to premiere later this week on Shudder. I believe it drops on November 4th, so yeah, it's going to be on Shudder. I'll go ahead and start this off by saying that. Do I recommend it? I'm going to be honest right out of the gate and say no. This is a film that I was actually really intrigued by when I was sent the screener. The poster, some of the images I saw of the film, it looked like it was going to be a cool looking film, and I saw it had to do with vampires, which is something that I've always been a fan of. So yeah, I was definitely intrigued, and I've only gotten a few screeners from Shudder, and you know, with them being, you know, one of the cooler horror things to kind of be a part of right now, you know, Shudder is all about horror. It is cool to see various films that they do have. And so I was really interested in this one. This is going to be a Shudder exclusive, though I do believe it did have some festival runs already, so you may be able to already find some other reviews for it here on YouTube. But yeah, what is this all about? Well, we hone in on 5 spoiled, rich individuals who are, you know, close friends, and over the course of their life, we're set up to believe that they've just kind of taken turns doing really crazy things, using their money to take their friends on some crazy experience. And so let's say it was my turn, I would think of some big crazy thing that me and none of my friends have ever thought of doing or never even knew existed, and I would take them to it, and then it'd be the next friend's turn, and then they would use their huge surplus of money to do the same. And so it's essentially a bunch of bored, very rich, spoiled friends who just blow their money on these big crazy experiences. And so one of these friends, it's their turn, and they end up using theirs for this weird experience where they kind of think that they're going to just end up getting like high, have some sort of DMT situation, maybe, you know, get a tattoo, as one of the characters said. But they end up waking up to find somebody dead with bite marks in their neck, and the fact that they all now have vampire fangs. And that's where the movie takes off, and for me, that's where the movie died. For the most part, this movie is just them trying to figure out if they are vampires and whether or not they like being vampires. And so it kind of just, you know, wedges some, you know, issues between them, but there really isn't much to this movie when it comes to the narrative. This is a movie that I think feels it was a lot more clever than it actually was, and by the end of the movie, I just didn't care. I wasn't really crazy about the characters, I wasn't really crazy about the story, and ultimately, by the time the movie was over, I just didn't care. I found the film to be rather boring and slow throughout, and ultimately, it didn't really have a story that ever really had me latched on. While I was watching it, there was just consistent moments of like, what is happening? I sat down and watched this with my buddy, the Big Rob Theory, and yeah, the both of us had a very similar reaction to the movie throughout. Now, some big praises I do want to give the film are the cinematography, the use of lighting in the film, and the use of music. There are definitely big moments in this film where we have a lot of slow motion, well shot scenes of our characters walking around or doing weird faces, and it just kind of feels like they were making this movie to be more visually cool than actually cool and good. But yeah, what I really took away from this film by the end of it really was just the message of the rich being pretty separated and almost living in a different world from the rest of the world sometimes, and how that can really blind a lot of them to living like normal people. And you know, there's definitely other things to take away from this movie at times, but ultimately the way the film wrapped up just kind of left me feeling because of what happens throughout the course of the film. They try to give you one of those big abrupt endings that's supposed to be like a kind of moment at the end, and I just didn't care. By the end of the movie, I thought to myself, man, I was just dying. This was a chore to watch. Ultimately, I was not crazy about this movie. I didn't find the performances to be all that great. I didn't really find the characters to be all that compelling. The story was really hardly there. I was never really gripped into anything that was happening. The characters annoyed me more than anything, and there was nothing really scary about it. And as a vampire movie, this was pretty lackluster. So, you know, I'm just being straight up right out of the gate. This film is written and directed by David Verbeek, who is somebody I'm not, necessarily familiar with. I liked a lot about his approach in terms of the visuals and certain slow motion cinematography heavy moments, but when it comes to the narrative and the characters, yeah, this one did not hit me, and this is not a movie I can give any sort of recommendation for. If you're on Shudder and you're scrolling through it, it's probably not the worst thing you'll find, but I'm not gonna lie, this is not a movie that I would ever tell anybody, hey, go check out, because ultimately, I've said it here on the channel on many occasions, the worst thing a movie can be for me is boring, and that's exactly what this movie was for me. So that's gonna be my thoughts on Dead and Beautiful. you know, it's a bummer because, like I said, the premise, the look, the feel, the poster, everything I saw about this movie leading up to it looked really cool, and the finished product, just the execution just wasn't there for me. But maybe this film will find its audience eventually, and maybe I'm just an outlier on this. So I'm very curious to hear other people's opinions as this film starts to roll out. So if you're one of those individuals who saw the movie after it hit Shudder and you're here watching this, please leave your thoughts. Did you like it? Did you not like it? I'm definitely open to a discussion on why you may have loved this film when I did not. But, you know, we'll see what ends up happening. A big thanks to you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.